Hey, we are back again. Day two of the From Employee to Entrepreneur Success series. I'm Colin here with your host. Super stoked today to have Markeith Braden on with us. And he'll be sharing his journey of going from employee to entrepreneur, some of the things and processes he put in place to help him make it possible for him and to grow the kind of business that he desire to have and deserve to, of course, deserve to. Markeith, tell us a little bit about you and where you are in your employee to entrepreneurship journey right now.
Well, Colin, what's up, man? I'm so excited to be joining you today. I appreciate the opportunity just to, share my entrepreneurial journey. But I am Markeith Braden, aka I like to call myself the brand maximizer, where I work with corporate executives to teach them how to maximize their personal brand online, so they can create a online-based business that gives them the freedom that they desire and helps them to live the life that they crave. And I have been on this journey for 2 years now, 2 full years of entrepreneurial swimming, treading water, and doing all of these great things. And it's been an exciting journey.
Nice. So let's jump right in, man. Right off the bat, what is what's one thing you wish you knew sooner about entrepreneurship that would have helped you along your way? I know it's only been 2 years.
Right. Well, you know what? I tell you what, when you asked me that question and sent it to me as well, the one thing that I wish I had known sooner was that I was able to do it. Being able to do it, knowing that I was enough, I had the capabilities, I had the skills, I had the talent, and I had the intelligence to be able to do it. Entrepreneurship is not an easy thing by any measure. However, sometimes it can be intimidating after being a professional working in the corporate environment for a decade prior to me really launching into starting the business. And so I think that had I had somebody in place or had somebody in my path that let me know that, Markeith, you could do this on your own. You could speak and train and consult and help other people to achieve their ultimate potential and things that they want to in life. If I had somebody there to encourage that, I wish I had had it early. But I don't believe in regrets. I believe that timing is always right when it's supposed to happen.
Man, that's good, and I think that's a big obstacle for most people. Have you found that that belief that it's possible that you can do it? Have you found that to be an obstacle for most of the clients that you work with?
Yeah, it is. And I think that it's a natural obstacle because we are not necessarily raised, or many of us are not raised to be entrepreneurs or to own your own business. Especially when I was coming up in the mid to late 90s, early 2000s, going to college and graduating college and going to graduate school in the early 2000s, what was taught to me was you get great education, get a master's degree, maybe get a PhD, land that great paying job, and then, have great benefits and live the quote unquote American dream. And I did all of those things that I was taught, that I was informed to do, only to realize that the American dream in and of itself was not enough for me, especially when the American dream, based on what people were telling me, was not in alignment with the purpose, the calling, and the gifts that were within me. And so that's why I even built my own business, to really help individuals to align themselves with what they're called to do, so that they can learn how to build a niche-based business online that creates the freedom that they want while they're doing the things that they're passionate about. I firmly believe that you can identify your purpose and build a business around that thing that you are called to do. It's only a matter of you finding the marketplace, identifying what it is that you already innately have that people need, and then putting a business model behind it.
Man, so for you, when did that journey start for you? I know it started when you were still working in corporate, and I think you were in healthcare, correct?
Right. So I was working in healthcare, and the journey really began for me, I would say, around about 2010. Around about 2010, I had already been on my 4th professional job. I had been in and out of education. So I graduated from graduate school in 2004. Between 2004 and 2010, I believe I had maybe 5 jobs. So I had not been on any particular job longer than 2 or 3 years. And I had gotten to a point where there has to be a reason behind why that was. There has to be a reason why I seemed to be unsettled, seemed to be slightly frustrated, seemed to be unfulfilled. And what I realized was that I was really just doing things that I was taught to do to make money, but not necessarily doing things that would create greater impact and also be fulfilling at the same time. And so around about 2010, I was going into my last position corporately as a corporate compliance officer for a major health center here in the city. And I started to wrestle. I started to really unearth some things about what was it that I truly was gifted at, and what were the things that people called on me for many years to do. And so for many years prior to really wanting to launch a business, I was already being paid to speak at various events and really marketing myself as a speaker, inspirational, motivational speaker for high schools and colleges, and was getting booked to speak, and had always had that desire that I wanted to be a professional speaker, standing on major stages, helping others to maximize their potential and realize their best life, to unearth their purpose, and to, really move into the things that they were really passionate about. And so I really started that process in 2010 by hiring me a coach while I had the income to be able to learn from somebody who was already doing what I wanted to do on the level that I wanted to do it on. And so I took my salary, out parts of my salary, and started investing in myself around about 2010 to really start to make the business a reality.
Man, that's one thing I think a lot of people miss out on, right? Investing in themselves when they have the salary. But let's go back a little bit. Prior to that, you started branding yourself and doing some of the things you always wanted to do, like speaking. Talk about how did you go about doing that while juggling your full-time job and the other responsibilities you had?
I mean, that's a great question. And I think it's something that all of us can do. And that is identify individuals, 1, 2, maybe 3 individuals who are doing what it is that you want to do on the level that you want to do it on. And so I keep saying that because you can find a lot of people doing what you want to do, but are they doing it to the degree, to the success level that you want to do it on? And so I identify individuals in the marketplace who are doing the thing that I wanted to do. People like Michael Hyatt, people like Les Brown, one of my mentors, people like Derek Young, were individuals that I followed, that I was really akin to or I aligned with. People like Bishop T.D. Jakes. I've always loved the power of the spoken word. I've always loved the power of what words can do to help shift other people's lives. I'll never forget, around that time, I was listening to a lot of the late Dr. Miles Monroe. And there's one quote that has rested with me and resided with me for many years, even built the foundation of my business on it. And that's this quote. Dr. Miles Monroe says that the greatest tragedy in life is life without purpose, life that simply has no direction. Moreover, life's greatest failure is to be successful at the wrong assignment. And what I realized was that quote was speaking to me, that I was successful in the world's identification of success. I had a great job. I was making great money. I had great benefits. I was able to buy a home in my late 20s. I was driving a nice vehicle. I had a nice checking account and was able to have a savings account and start building my mutual fund. But the thing was that I was doing it successfully, but at the wrong thing. And that's what really started to really help me along my journey in really identifying, what am I innately good at? And how can I leverage what I'm innately good at to create a business around it?
So there's a couple of things there. So the process, you identify what you were good at because you already knew what you didn't want to do. Right. Then you found people who are doing it to a higher level or to the level that you would like to do it. at.
Right.
At that time, were you able to afford them as personal mentors, or did you just dive into their content and model yourself after how they were showing up
Right. So I
online?
did both, actually. So I started with whatever free content was available, and then I enrolled in Michael Hyatt's Platform University program, which was at the time was $30 a month. And to this day, I'm still in Platform University because he still produces great content that will help me for my business. And then I ultimately ended up hiring me a coach, someone who I knew or was referred to me, that I was willing to invest $400 a month in getting that coaching. And so I put my money where my mouth was. I put my money into myself, because what I knew was that if I was going to make the transition, that free content wasn't going to be enough, that I needed to invest in myself on the level that I wanted to get to in order to find myself to be able to do what I'm doing today. And that's be full-time in business for the last 2 years.
Nice. So, man, I like how you're laying this out in a doable step-by-step process, right? You've made the investment in yourself. You identify who you want to learn from. You've made the investment in yourself. Now, did your business start out the way you envisioned? Did you just automatically got into the kind of success that you wanted? Talk about the first couple of years after you've gotten started, but before you went full-time. What was that journey like?
So it was a natural progress, a process to it all. So after getting the coaching, I had the confidence to start to at least getting a few clients in my coaching business prior to being laid off, which is a whole nother part of the journey. But what I decided to do was, as I was building the business, my coach helped me with the business plan, helped me with identifying target market, helped me with identifying what I was going to offer as a coach. And notice that I keep mentioning this whole idea of coaching. So started out with the whole speaking, not realizing that there was a whole coaching component piece that could be an extension to the speaking. And so it didn't necessarily morph into what I wanted it, because all I really wanted it was to be a professional speaker who traveled the country, traveled the world, doing great motivational, inspirational speeches on stages, right? I never thought about this whole idea of coaching programs as an extension, or back of the room sales, quote unquote, that this coach was teaching me. And so I really started the business with I think it was maybe 3 clients who ended up ultimately enrolling and hiring me to coach them.
Nice. So you started that process from when you got started to, I know your big push or catalyst to going full-time self-employed was your layoff. How long between that, how long was between with that journey?
Yeah. So the process started really in 2010, but I didn't get laid off until 2014. So that whole 4-year process was me learning, building, and kind of identifying, okay, what's my primary keynote, what's my primary topic, right? And so around about 2013 was when I really hired the coach, not knowing that I was going to get laid off in 2014. And so things really were falling in place for the most part, where I was taking the additional money that I had, because not only was I working a full-time job, but I also was teaching for the University of Phoenix. So I had full-time job, part-time adjunct teaching position, and trying to build a business. So I was really active in pursuing what it was that I wanted to do, and where I needed to have additional finances to help me do that, I was willing to do it. So it was over a course of a 4-year period prior to me being laid off, and still not necessarily going full time for another 4 years. So it was really more of an 8-year process of me really honing in, identifying the areas of expertise that I really wanted to find myself in, and then, trial and error along the way to get to 2018 when I decided to go full time.
Nice. So when you initially started out the business, what was your goal? Was it to go full time, or was it just to have as a side hustle?
When I initially started the business, that's a great question. I really wanted to create extra income because I had always known working part-time jobs. And so I started the business more so to replace the part-time work that I was doing. Even though I enjoyed being an adjunct teacher, it wasn't necessarily a subject matter that I enjoyed teaching, because it was a subject matter for which that was connected to the professional work that I did. So it really helped me to, really hone in on income that I could create that would replace at least having a part-time job. But as I got the coaching, as I began to learn the type of money that people were able to make in what I call the knowledge-based marketplace, online marketplace, then I really began to tell myself that, Markeith, you can create a full-time income, replace your income that you're making on your job doing this.
Let's bring up something that you just mentioned. A lot of people know a part-time job, right? Or need a part-time job in order to just survive. Mm-hmm. I like how you thought about your online business as a vehicle to replace that part-time job while pursuing something that you're passionate about. Talk about that as a exit strategy for someone who has a part-time job, thinking about an online business, but talk about it and how you can structure that process of creating a business to replace that traditional part-time job.
Yeah, many of the people that I was following and being coached by, many of them started with full-time jobs. And here's what many of us have to start to understand. It's interesting because they were having a conversation. There was a live that I was listening to that was having a conversation about small businesses being entrepreneurs. And I think that for some reason or another, we confuse this whole idea of entrepreneurship being, quote unquote, always full-time. Like, you could be an entrepreneur and have a great corporate job, but your entrepreneurial mindset, your entrepreneurial behavior creates additional income and income streams in addition to your full-time job. Entrepreneurship is not synonymous with full-time business. You can have one in the boat, one in the same, but you can be an entrepreneur and be an employee at the same time. And so as I was beginning to think about what I wanted to do, I always felt as though it would be great to be able to have a full-time job that I love, at the same time being able to build my consultancy business on the side that complements what it is that I do during the day, with the expectation or the vision that at some point the business would morph the employee opportunity that I had and be able to sustain me and my lifestyle in perpetuity.
Look, man, you hit on a topic there. I think a lot of people think it's one or the other, right, when it comes to entrepreneurship. And personally, I believe you can even be entrepreneurial within your career, within a job. And I have an experience of doing that in the last role I had, but we can always talk about that next time. But you can create that opportunity within your job, but also creating it outside and having both of the best worlds. And do you think with the right mindset, your job can show up as some level of certainty that gives you a little bit more leeway to explore on something that you're passionate about?
Well, I'll tell you what this whole coronavirus experience has taught me, and that is that none of us should ever rely on one stream of income, right? And so as I'm thinking about resetting, as I'm thinking about pivoting, I'm thinking about, well, what type of business really do I want to truly create? And what do I need to do in order to create that business? Here's what having a job did for me early on that I'm even considering even now. And that is that when you're building your business, sometimes you have a tendency to work with all types of clients, right? You work with anybody who may have money. Yep. Well, what a job can do as you're in your inception aspects of your business, one, that job can be, quote unquote, a silent investor. but two, that job also can be a reason why you don't have to work with people you don't want to work with. Why? Because you have income coming in that sustains your normal livelihood. Now you can focus on really identifying who your client is, how you're going to resolve your client's problem, and then how you're going to deliver that solution. Whereas if you are full-time and you really haven't necessarily planned accordingly financially, a lot of times we find ourselves, because I did, find ourselves working with individuals who weren't necessarily my ideal client, but yet they had money to pay.
I think we're all guilty of that, and I'll raise my hand to that too, because you want the income, but you'll make the sacrifice. Well, at least it's my own business, right? That's the justification that I give. A couple of things you mentioned there, man. Being financially prepared to go full time. What did that? I don't know if you want to explore this, but we're already here. So, what did that look like for you when you got laid off? What was that decision making process at that time of, should I find another job or should I go after this thing I'm passionate about full time? What was the decision making process there, not only from professional but also from the financial and from the practical sense?
Well, when I got laid off, I was really more excited than I was disappointed. Why? Because I was even preparing to either quit anyway. But one of my friends, wise friends, he said, before you quit, make sure you at least have, 3 to 6 months worth of your expenses saved. And then also make sure you have a 90-day exit plan. And so I was in the process of creating my 90-day exit plan, in the process of making sure that my finances were in place, and they just beat me to the punch by laying me off. However, the story really begins at the job layoff, because here's what I know for sure, that nobody taught me or nobody talked to me about the potential of being laid off from a job. I had heard about people being laid off, but I never really had the expectation, especially being in healthcare, that I would get laid off. But what I began to really fully understand is that the greatest risk that one can take is really having a job. We don't see it that way, but how is having a job risky? Well, having a job is risky because at any given point, because you don't own the company, somebody can do exactly what they did to me, knock on your door, ask you to come to the conference room, and let you know that the position that you currently have is being dissolved due to financial struggles that the organization is having. Many of us found out how risky it was due to coronavirus, that the entire world, the entire country had to shut down. And in order for businesses to conserve money, what did they do? Many of them were either temporarily laid off or laid off in general. Yep. I had a client who she ultimately ended up working at an institution that asked all of the executives and middle to senior level executives to take a 30% pay cut. It's risky. You didn't get to decide that. Somebody else decided that for you. And so really, at the end of the day, having a job is putting your livelihood in somebody else's hands. It's less risky, I think, to have it in my own hands than it is to put it in somebody else's hands to dictate what happens.
That's a very contrary kind of thinking, right? So it takes the right mindset to get to that, to get to this. And I totally agree with you, because that's how I felt. I got 6 months notice that I'll be laid off at a specific date. So I got a chance to plan forward. The thing you mentioned is the 90-day plan. You said you were putting a 90-day plan in place. Talk to us about that, because maybe that is something someone looking at this video right now may want to start implementing as they think about kind of hedging the bets. And actually, entrepreneurship is somewhat, doing entrepreneurship part-time is somewhat like hedging the bets towards what can happen in your professional career, right? But talk to me about the 90-day plan that you put together.
So the 90-day exit plan is what is going to be the strategy, because I can't say that I'm the best planner a lot of times, but what's this exit strategy? How much money do I need over the next 90 days in order to make the decision to move? Then, what's the actual business? How am I going to market the business? Who is the target individuals that I'm going to call first when I make that shift, right? What type of money am I going to need in the business outside of taking care of my personal expenses? And so your 90-day exit plan has everything to do with, once I make the transition, here's the blueprint of what I'm going to follow to ensure that my livelihood and my lifestyle stays intact. Now, it could also include, what am I going to cut? What expenses am I going to cut when I make the transition to ensure that my money is conserved over a longer period of time? That 90-day plan really should have all of the details, the step-by-step details, because I'm a step-by-step person, of what actions you're going to take up on the transition. Because here's what's important. If you end up quitting the job, then unemployment is not an option. Now, because I was laid off, unemployment became an option for me, in addition to getting a severance, in addition to having the money that I had saved. And so I was pretty good. I was not in a rush to try to find another job. Actually, I didn't go look for another job. I ended up finding ways to be a gig person, right? So I took those skills with the few clients that I had in the coaching business. I took my skills and started reaching out to individuals who maybe struggled with online marketing or who struggled with social media. And I offered them services starting at $1,500 a month to, help them with their digital presence and social media. And many people took advantage of it.
Nice. That's another option, right? A lot of times people think is one route. When you become a full-time entrepreneur, it doesn't have to be one route. I mean, you've discussed several times, multiple ways we've made it work, right? I call it my income pie. And there's definitely different parts to the pie. Some parts are larger than others. Now, let's talk about that part where you got laid off. You made a decision. Hey, I'm going to go give this a go full time. I wanted to do it. I had a plan. Now, the kind of work you started doing when you first went full-time entrepreneurship, how has that changed now a couple of years in?
So you got to know, you have to be clear on what it is that you want, right? Clarity is very important as it pertains to making that transition. And one of the things that I had always had a desire to do was to couple ministry with marketplace opportunities. And so at the time of my job layoff, after the first year, I actually decided to pursue my dream of divinity school and getting my master's of divinity. And I was accepted into Vanderbilt and did a year towards that, only to kind of realize that, okay, it wasn't all that I thought it would have been. But what it did was it introduced me to opportunities within ministry, where I landed an opportunity with my current church, where I became the minister of marketing and communications and ministry assistant to the senior pastor. And I did that for 4 years because I was clear on, I wanted to really build a relationship between entrepreneurship and ministry. And what that allowed me to do was to really begin to cut my learning curve on a lot of the new things social media had to offer, but it also brought forth income for me to continue to invest in the business. And it gave me the autonomy that I wanted, because what I was real clear on was that if I did go back to work, that I wanted to make sure that I did something that gave me the autonomy to do the things that I wanted to do business-wise. I did not want to go back to a situation where somebody controlled all of my time each and every day. But I wanted to go into a situation where I had a relationship with a person, or I had communicated effectively what I needed in a position that allowed me to still continue to pursue the things that I wanted. And that's how I ended up in ministry full-time, working at the church and having that conversation with my pastor, how, I was able to have autonomy. I was able to go to different conferences. I was able to do a lot of things that I probably would not have had the opportunity to do working a regular traditional 9-to-5. And so I was very clear on, if I went back to work or take a position, that it had to be something that was very flexible, that gave me the autonomy to continue to build a business, as well as give me the experience that I needed in order to learn more about how to grow an online-based business in coaching and consulting and speaking.
Man, that clarity is the key, because from the way you describe that, the phrase shiny object syndrome goes around the online business space. I'm quite sure you've encountered that, but when you have in clarity, it does something else, but it helps you get clear on what kind of other opportunities could allow you to pursue your entrepreneurship journey.
And the timing was perfect, because when I think about what we're experiencing today, because of that conversation that I had with my pastor, because of the opportunity of me becoming the minister of marketing and communications, I was able to be very instrumental in why my church that I go to was prepared and ready for COVID-19 and haven't missed a beat, because we had been doing streaming on Facebook and all of the various text to give, and having an app that I was able to implement in that 4-year period, to where the church was ready for this, at least 2 years prior to it happening.
Man, so because you were clearing your skill set, clearing the kind of work you had, you created an entrepreneurship opportunity within a bigger organization, right? Mm-hmm. Now, since we're in this COVID-19 crisis right now, how would you advise someone who've thought about entrepreneurship, who may have been dabbling, how would you advise them to proceed and kind of hedge their bets against this happening again?
Well, I'll tell you what, I've learned quite a few lessons. The first lesson that I shared with you earlier was that never rely on one source or one stream of income. Because what happens when that one stream is taken? You don't have any other streams coming in. And so as you think about your business, you want to think about, what are the multiple ways, or what are the multiple streams that I can create income as it pertains to my business? So what am I saying? That, I may have this coaching business, but in addition to the coaching, what other ancillary or what other things can be added into the coaching that can still bring in opportunities? So I might have a membership program. I may also have an online course that people can buy on demand. I may have one-on-one coaching clients that are premium based. I may have a group coaching situation. And then I also may take speaking gigs, right? And then on the other side of that, things that are away from the business, especially if you're very profitable in your business, now can you take some of those profits and invest in real estate? My whole goal, my whole vision was to build a personal brand, online-based business that produced enough income that I could take that income and then invest it in other opportunities that would create additional streams of income for me. I wasn't necessarily building a quote unquote business to sell, because I was quote unquote the brand and the business, but I wanted to build a brand and business that was very profitable, that would then allow me to take that money and invest my profits into other opportunities that I have interest in, like real estate, or like the stock market, like maybe investing or being an angel investor in other companies that would ultimately produce a profit.
that bigger vision that keeps coming back to the clarity and having the bigger vision. Now, you mentioned creating a personal brand.
Mm-hmm.
Personal branding is important, regardless if you're an entrepreneur or not.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we're speaking to people who are ambitious. They want to pursue entrepreneurship. What were the basic steps you'd recommend? I know that's what your main business is about, branding and helping people get themselves out there. What is the 3 to 5 things you'd recommend that someone can start doing today that would allow them to create a personal brand that they can leverage later on into full-time entrepreneurship?
There are three questions that I always share with individuals that I think will really help you to not only kind of unearth your purpose and the passions that you have, but also start you along this journey of what I call personal branding. The question number one is what comes easy to you but hard to other people? What comes easy to you but hard for other people? So I shared at the beginning that, I have a natural inclination of being able to have the gift of gab, that you give me a topic, I can pretty much give you a 5 or 10 minute speech on that topic. Whether or not I know a whole bunch about it or not, I can make you think that I know a lot, because I just love the power of being able to connect with words. So question number one is, what comes easy to you but hard for other people? Question number two is, what would you do right now if you knew you could not fail? What would you do right now if you knew you could not fail? And if what you're doing for work isn't that thing, ask yourself, why are you not doing it? Right? And then question number three, after you ask yourself, what comes easy to me but hard for other people, what would I do right now if I knew I could not fail? The third question is to ask yourself, what do you love doing so much that you would still do it even if you didn't get paid to do it? Because that is that area of passion that you have. That's that area of love that you have, that even not getting paid to do it, you still would do it. I can't tell you the number of speaking engagements and opportunities I've taken just because I love teaching, love speaking, and love empowering that much that I did it anyway, knowing that there was a way to get paid doing it. And so when we talk about personal brand, I believe that building your personal brand is the one thing that never goes out of style. Because when you build your personal brand and you begin to build a community around your expertise, and you begin to build the know, like, and trust, no matter what type of business you move to, people will follow. You're a speaker, for a season, and you've built that personal brand as a speaker, but now you want to get into coaching. And so you develop coaching programs. Well, people knew you as a speaker, not as a coach, but because you built that know, like, and trust with them, they'll move from coming to hear you speak to coming to learn from you in a coaching program. Or maybe you create some type of brick and mortar business. Well, I guarantee you there's a percentage of those people, if they're in your particular area, that will come and support your brick and mortar because of the brand that you built before them, because of the brand that you built to help them to know, like, and trust you.
The way you lay it out is simple. We've been around the space, we get it. And I think it takes a lot of courage just to get out of your own way to actually answer those questions and be honest with yourself. What's the easiest way you can now start showing up in the world after knowing those things about yourself?
Take action. It's really that simple. Take action. Move forward. Based on what you know, what's the next best step? Don't wait. Don't try to be perfect. Learn from your mistakes, but just simply take action. I was, quote unquote, the perfectionist. I was the one who wanted to be just right before I take the move. And I probably lost a whole lot of time by doing that. And so once you kind of answer those questions, now just take action. Who are the individuals you can meet, that you can talk to, that you can follow, that you can model? Right? I have a few individuals that I just model the business after. Have I arrived? Not arrived, probably will never arrive. But I've manifested that first step of being full-time. And now, as we're experiencing Corona, now I'm reevaluating some things with my own finances, with the direction that I want the business to go, and what do I need to do in order to make sure the trajectory of the business goes the way that I want it to go now. And once I identify that, guess what I have to do? Take action, start moving, start doing the things that I know I should be doing. What's the next best step that gets me closer to where I'm trying to go?
What's the next best step for that person who said, I don't know? What's the next best step you'd recommend?
The next best step for the person that says, I don't know, is for them to become self-aware. Really hone in on who are you. Really get clear on what do you want. Here's something that I know for sure that we're not taught. What we're typically taught is you find a job, find work, and then create your life. Knowing what I know now, that's really backwards. Really, I should create my life, create the vision for my life, and then find the work that helps me to achieve the vision. That really what's most important is that I live my life in a way that's fulfilled and that is purposeful, and then identifying what work will help me to accomplish that. But we're taught the alternative. And what we end up doing is we try to fit our life into our work versus fitting our work into our life. And so self-awareness really helps us to really shift that perspective and start to think about the life that we want, start to think about the lifestyle that we want, start to think about the health that we want, the family unit that we want, and then identify what type of work will help me to achieve that.
Man, on that note, we're going to end it here. That's it, man. But that's actually, you're right. It's how we've taught it backwards, right? We find a job and then try to find a time for our lives. Mm-hmm. And you can design your life. That's one of the biggest things I've learned from entrepreneurship and being an online business and becoming self-aware and growing is you have the power to design your life. Mm-hmm. And it's scary because usually we do design our lives around work.
Right.
Markeith, this is good. Let me ask you this. We're going to wrap it up on this. What's your secret sauce? What is the thing when a client comes to you? What is that secret sauce that you give to them to make their dreams a reality?
Secret sauce. Let me tell you, it's not only my secret sauce. I believe it's everybody's secret sauce, which is why I love to talk about and help people to develop their personal brand. The secret sauce is you. It's me. There'll never be another Markeith Braden. Nobody can do Markeith Braden better than Markeith Braden. There'll never be another you. Nobody can do you like you. Now, here's the question. Will you take the reins and be intentional about you being the best you possibly can be? Or will you allow somebody else to dictate to you how you should be? The secret sauce, I believe, to everybody's success is for you to be the best that you possibly can be, for you to show up and shine like the way that you're supposed to show up and shine. Don't dim your light to make other people comfortable. Shine as bright as possible so that those who need what you have to offer are attracted to the light that you have. So the secret sauce at the end of the day is simply me being me.
Dude, wish we had another hour. Maybe we have to do this again.
Definitely. Let's do it again. You know, I love it.
Oh, yeah, we definitely need to do it again. One thing I want to mention. So me and Markeith connected online because we live in the same town. We live in Nashville. But we connected online and we've made it for a period of time, we're pretty intentional about connecting at least once a month offline. And one of the things I would always recommend to people when you come, when you're looking to build a business, is build relationships, network, and connect with people. And it has so much power in it. So I appreciate you being here. Where could we find you online? Mention your awesome podcast too, man.
Yeah, you can find me online at my name, markeithbraden.com. That's MarkeithBraden, Braden.com. On all social media platforms, Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter is just at Markeith Braden. I was favorable to be able to get my name across all the platforms. And if you would love to just be a part of what's going on with the business, you can text brand me to 77222, and that will allow you to get weekly emails from me all around how do I build my personal brand, how do I really maximize my potential and create an online-based business around what I love and I'm passionate about.
Man, I'm absolutely excited you're here. Thanks for being here. You can find me over at colinyearwood.com. Thanks for being part of the second session of the From Employed Entrepreneur Success Series. Tomorrow, we have Ron Gelok. Name slipped me for a second. Tomorrow, we have Ron Gelok. He's a coach. He does sales coaching. He has a great history of how he grew his business online from a chocolatier to create an online business. So thanks for joining me on this session. Good seeing you. Take care.
All right. Thanks, Colin.